Welcome into the studio, everyone. I'm Carly Smith here with Rob Washburn for another Three Things to Watch. And Rob, we're coming off a really wild week of CAA football. 3 teams earned upset wins against ranked opponents, and we saw quite a few breakthrough moments all throughout the league. Yeah. But it's time to flip the page to week 6. We've got 9 games on the schedule and plenty of matchups that just won't disappoint. So first, let's start with 2 teams that are drawing quite a bit of attention. UAlbany, who's receiving votes in national polls, travels to Towson to take on a Tiger squad that just beat last year's CAA regular season co-champs in number 14 UNH. So Towson finished that game with 561 yards of offense, but that offense will be tested against a Great Danes defense that forced 5 turnovers and had 8 sacks in their well-rounded win against number 16 Villanova last week. Rob, a lot on the plate for both teams in this matchup. How do you expect both of these teams to handle the challenge?
Yeah, Carly, this should be a great game between 2 teams hoping to continue that momentum from those big wins over nationally ranked opponents last Saturday. Now, when Pete Shinnick took over as head coach at Towson, he promised a fast-paced, high-powered offense. It's taken some time as the Tigers have adjusted to the new scheme with a first-year starting quarterback, but last week the attack was hitting on all cylinders as they ran for 309 yards and passed for 252 at UNH while posting their highest point total since 2019. Quarterback Nathan Kent was outstanding, throwing for 5 touchdowns and adding 68 yards on the ground. Do everything running back Diego Hunter piled up 324 all-purpose yards, and Devin Matthews ran for 116 yards and 2 touchdowns, including the game-winning score in overtime. Now, the challenge for Towson this week is the UAlbany defense is getting after the quarterback as well as any team in the nation. The Great Danes have recorded 24 sacks through 5 games, with Anton Junka leading the nation with 9 and A.J. Simon ranking second with 7. UAlbany hasn't given up more than 269 yards and 17 points to an FCS opponent. They've also been great at forcing turnovers with 10 thus far. It will be interesting to see whether the Tigers' offense or the Great Danes' defense has more success on Saturday.
Great stuff, Rob. Let's hear what Towson's Pete Shinnick and UAlbany's Greg Gattuso had to say prior to kickoff.
Always seem to be in the right place. I think they're at 25 sacks in 5 games, which is an amazing number to have this early. A lot of teams would love that for a season, and they've got it, and we're not even halfway done with it. And then their QB just puts the ball where he needs to, when he needs to. So extremely impressed with them. And
I think they really run the ball well. I think the backs are good. Everyone they've trotted out has been a good back. We faced 2 really good backs last week at Villanova, and if we don't tackle better this week, it'll be a problem, I think, because they do a great job both at receiver and running back at catching and running with the football.
Kickoff is at 4 p.m. at Johnny Unitas Stadium in Towson, Maryland, and can be seen on Flow Football. Now let's move on to our second thing to watch in Week 6. North Carolina A&T is coming off of their first win of the season after defeating Norfolk State 28-26 last week. They'll play host to a Villanova squad who's receiving votes in the national polls and looking to rebound after a loss at UAlbany in Week 5. Rob, last week was a breakout performance, especially offensively for the Aggies. True freshman quarterback Kevin White showed he's got elite speed and can do it on the ground and in the air. So how do you expect these 2 teams to match up against one another on Saturday?
Yeah, my focus in this game will be on the 2 rushing attacks. The Wildcats and Aggies both have quarterbacks who can make plays with their feet as well as a deep stable of running backs. Now, Villanova ran for over 280 yards in wins over Lehigh and Rhode Island and is the only team in the league with 4 players who have rushed for over 100 yards in a game this season. Running backs D. Will Barley, Tio Iodujare average better than 6 yards per carry, and they should be joined by power back Jalen Jackson, who has missed the past 2 games due to injury. Now, at 6'3", 225 pounds, quarterback Connor Watkins is tough to bring down in the open field, and he leads the Wildcats with 6 touchdowns. Now, A&T piled up a season-high 275 yards on the ground in last week's victory at Norfolk State. The Aggies split carries between Virginia Tech transfer Kenji Christian, who tallied a season-high 118 yards and 2 touchdowns at NSU, and 225-pound bruiser Wesley Graves. Now they've added a lightning-fast true freshman quarterback in Kevin White, who broke loose for a 65-yard touchdown run on the second play of the game, and finished with 115 yards on only 11 carries at Norfolk State. This will be the first ever meeting between these 2 programs that have had a great deal of success in FCS football, and it should be a good one.
Yes, it should. All right, let's hear what Villanova's Mark Ferrante and North Carolina A&T's Vincent Brown had to say leading up to Week 6.
and they do a really good job. They're big up front. They open some holes. Those guys break tackles, and the quarterback is dynamic. He looks really fast when you see him take off on some of those long runs. Villanova's a talented team. The quarterback, Connor Watkins, has a unique skill set. He's got size. He's got a great arm. He can run the football. They have talented receivers. They got good backs. And so, we are just focused on becoming the best version of us, and we'll see what happens after that.
You can tune into this one at 4 p.m. on Flow Football. Finally, our third thing to watch takes us to Hampton, Virginia, where the Pirates will play host to CAA newcomer Campbell. Rob Hampton's coming in after a 31-14 win at Richmond, where their defense kept the Spiders scoreless in the first half. They also bring in quite a few weapons offensively, one guy being the league's leading rusher, Elijah Burris. Now, we know this. Campbell has got some playmakers, especially with Haj Malik Williams, who's third in the CAA in passing, and they've only lost to teams who have been in the top 25 in terms of those three opponents. So they've been learning each week how to compete against the best of the best, and this week is just no different. So what needs to take place for both teams to come out and execute on Saturday, Rob?
Yeah, Carly, quarterback play in the CAA this season has been among the best of any FCS league in the country, and this game features two guys who have been outstanding dual-threat leaders for their offenses. At Campbell, it's veteran Haj Malik Williams, who ranks in the top 10 in the nation in passing yards, passing touchdowns, and total offense, and he's also run for 4 scores. He's thrown for over 300 yards 3 times this season, is completing 75% of his passes, and had 5 touchdown throws at North Carolina Central last Saturday. Now at Hampton, it's junior Chris Zealous, who has only made 5 career starts, but he seems to be getting better in each one. He's thrown for over 200 yards twice, has run for 262 yards and a team-high 6 touchdowns, and he's been responsible for scoring 18 points per game, which ranks 6th nationally. Now these guys are both electric with the ball in their hands. They're surrounded by weapons in the backfield and at receiver. I'm looking for a very high-scoring game on Saturday.
Let's listen to what Campbell's Mike Minter and Hampton's Robert Prunty had to say prior to the CAA battle.
I think Hampton's defense is a whole lot better than Central's defense, so our offense will have our work cut out for us. But as far as our defense against their offense, man, they just saw what Hampton is about to do. And so, Central's quarterback, really, really good. Hampton's quarterback, really, really good. So it's going to be exciting to see us grow from last week to this week.
If you look at the recruiting, they got the top recruiting class in FCS, and you can see it. You can see it with the players they got. This is an athletic football team. We're going to have our work cut out for us versus this team. And once they put it all together, I just hope it don't happen against us.
Trust me, you won't be bored on Saturday, that's for sure. That matchup will be played at 2 p.m. on Saturday on Flow Football. In addition to these 3 conference showdowns, Rhode Island takes on Brown in the Governor's Cup, always a significant one in Rhode Island. William and Mary will travel to Charlottesville to face Virginia, an ACC squad hungry for their first win of the season. Delaware plays host to Duquesne in what will always be an electric atmosphere at the Tub, Delaware Stadium. And Elon hosts North Carolina Central for a competitive in-state battle at Rhodes Stadium, and Richmond will welcome Maine for yet another feisty CAA contest. Thanks so much for tuning in to another week of 3 Things to Watch for all things CAA football. You know the drill. Visit CAAfootball.com and at CAA Football on social media for updates, recaps, and more. Enjoy the weekend.